What's up, guys? Welcome to the fourth episode of my Long Island gym tour. If you're listening to this all in a row, like binging these, get a life. No, I'm totally kidding. But if this is your first one, go ahead and listen to all the other ones. But very briefly, what I'm doing, I'm taking a full day and visiting as many gyms on Long Island as I possibly can before I do my consulting day with Anthony Bevilacqua, who's a gym owner in the Mastermind that hired me for the day. And I came up a day before to visit all the gyms that are in my SPF Mastermind that are on Long Island. And so I've visited 4 gyms now. I'm on my way to my 5th. I'm actually just left Manny Rodriguez and I'm on my way to see TJ Lopez. It's my final stop for the day before we sit down and have a nice steak dinner, which I'm excited for and have enough travel for the day. But just visited Manny. He's an interesting story. Manny was a cop and, retired in 2008 and then basically fell into a business where he took over a boot camp in a gymnastics school and it basically started crushing it. And he's done really, really well. He's had some ups and downs through COVID and stuff like that. But we got a great conversation, and a couple highlights from our chat was this. The first one was he's still training more sessions than he wants to train. And I know that's the case with a lot of gym owners that are trying to run the business, but you're tired from doing so many sessions. And I know what that's like, because it's like, as a gym owner, you want to kind of grow the business. And when you're training too much on the floor, it kind of almost is like, you start to get like resentful on that, like, oh, I'm doing all this training and I don't have any time to run the business or grow the business or learn and all that stuff. And so I get that. I don't usually advise people to go cold turkey, like to go from 40 sessions a week to 0, because 1, you get a massive increase in payroll. And 2, I think that a lot of times people don't know what the hell to do with their time. So I prefer more of a progressive decrease in the amount of sessions. This is pretty much what I followed, and no one ever told me this. I just kind of naturally did it, and it tends to work. But in Manny's case, one of the things he was telling me, I think he was doing around 23 sessions a week. And actually, hold on, let me charge my phone, because I've been on Waze all day and my phone is dying. So he was doing 23 sessions a week and he wanted to cut it down. And I was just like, all right, let's do this. Let's take 13 sessions away and delegate 13 sessions to either a current trainer that you got, or we can hire a part-time trainer to do it. And here's the mindset you got to have when you take hours off your plate, because most of the time it's not just, oh, I need, 13 hours a week to just sit on my ass and do nothing. It's not that. You want time and you want to invest the right time. Holy shit, look at all this traffic. Long Island. Awesome. Anyway, sorry. You want to replace the hours with the right things to do, right? But sometimes we're scared to make the investment. Manny in this case wasn't, and I'm not speaking just specifically on what we talked about, but I do think there's a lot of people there that are afraid to give up sessions as the owner because we don't want to add more payroll. We don't want to have to pay another person. We don't want our costs to go up and everything like that. And I think that's going to keep you on the sidelines for a while. So what I like to try to people do is look at it. You're making an investment. And in Manny's case, if it's 13 sessions, let's call it, I don't know, say it's going to cost us $2,000 a month, or 20, let's call it 2,500 bucks a month, right? To have this part-time trainer do 13 sessions. So what that investment is giving us, we're making an investment in getting 13 hours back. Sorry, sometimes the traffic makes me lose my train of thought. We're getting an investment of 13 hours back for $2,500. So for $2,500 investment in part-time trainer, he is getting 50 hours a month. Now, go back to episode 1 in Long Island Gym Tours, when I talked about with Joey Olivia, where I talked about the Operation Money Suck activities. What are the things that you're doing to bring in the money? Well, that's what Manny's got to replace this time with. He's got to take these 13 hours a week, 50 hours a month roughly, and he's got to go do money-making activities with that time. So now he's making a $2,500 a month investment for 50 hours of time. What I got to do is make sure I make it count on the things that I do. Now, so that's the first thing. The second thing is Manny's gym was in a gymnastics studio. And he is at the top floor of a gymnastics studio. And sometimes people look at that stuff, it's like, oh, people don't want to come to a gymnastics studio and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the perfect clients are the parents. I was like watching the people come in and out. So some souped up infinity. I was watching the clients come in and out. It's like the exact people that he wants in his gym, just literally coming there. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to get them to come like while the kids are there. I think that that's kind of something that's a little bit harder to do. But if they are coming there on a regular basis, there's likely they live in the area, so they're going to be, local. And there's a good chance they can become customers. Now, he told me, he's like, yeah, that's how I started. I got a lot of people in the very beginning, and now I don't. I was like, well, when was the last time you made an offer to go get these moms in the door from the gymnastics school? He said 2 years ago. I was like, well, it's time, right? And so that's the thing is like going back to episode number 3 on Long Island Gym Tours, what I talked with Johnny Sordo is make more offers, make more money. Well, here's the thing where we just need to make more offers. Now, the idea I gave him is genius, right? And if you're listening to this, you should do this too with any joint venture that you've got. But what he should do is he should do what I call a mini joint venture sweepstakes, which I created the original sweepstakes, but then Joe Hashi created the joint venture version of this. And then Carly, who works with us at SPF, who's our marketing guru at SPF, she, made a playbook out of this. But essentially what you do is he would go to the gymnastics studio and say, hey, I want to give away 10 free 1-month memberships to all the moms at the gym. And they would fill out a form, apply to win. And then you'd pick 10 people to win, and then you would follow up with the rest and get them in with another offer. Maybe it's a free week or something like that, or get them in the door some way, shape, or form. But it's a way for the gymnastics studio to make an offer. And he was telling me, so yeah, sometimes I talk to people and they don't want to come up, or we're too. And I was just like, no, we just need to set up consistent plays. And here's the thing, like me, I think he has a good relationship with the gymnastics studio. Sometimes the best thing you can do is set up some type of a monthly recurring thing where, he does something for the gymnastics studio, whether that's, free workshops or lectures, whether that's him paying them, whatever it is, but for some consistent follow-up and some consistent marketing to that list, because that list is goldmine for him. Right? Just like the list of a local salon that has a lot of potential clients is a gold mine for you, right? This list of moms in this gymnastics studio is a friggin' gold mine. And if he just goes to that list regularly on a regular basis, then there's a great chance he's going to get a lot more customers, right? So we talked about that. We also talked about model, and he was asking about, small group. He was another one doing large group. And he's like, is it time for me to go to small group? Is it time to go to small group? And I was like, let's get this thing to a certain amount of members and large group. Let's get it cranking again. So I'm this small group guy. A lot of people look at me as the small group person because I've written the book on it. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's like everybody, it's not like I'm like, that's the only way to run a business. He's made a lot of money doing large group. So I'm not saying that everyone needs to do small group. And I told him, take it hard to the end of the year and then grow this thing, because he's at a strong price point for large group. He's charging more money on large group than I've ever heard of, which is a good thing, right? So I told him to keep it going. So it's not always about, I got to find this new shiny thing, right? And pivot to this or go to that. It's about maximizing what you're currently doing and going to get it cranky. So that was kind of what we talked about. And he had some really, really interesting things going on. He had one good trainer that was there. The kid was really good. The kid was he was really attentive with his client. He was at the client. He told me that had lost 40 pounds. I was really impressed with his staff. And one of the questions he asked me was, how do you pay, someone that's been with you, for a long time and stuff like that. And here's kind of like what I told him. I was like, here's the deal. It's like, if we just make up comp structures for random people at random times, our business is going to be all over the place. And my advice is that he's got to look at his business on a pretty much like a map. And when I say a map, what I mean is you have to look at the roster of your business in terms of the positions you have and lay that out. How many trainers do you have? Do you have a head trainer? Do you have someone in a sales position? And then it's called an organizational chart where you would lay all the positions out on like this kind of chart, if you will. Hopefully you've seen this up before, right? And I was like, based on where your business is economically, based on how much money a business is, the business can afford to pay certain positions X amount of dollars. It all needs to fit within a payroll that's roughly 30 to 40%, right? And so if you take all the positions on the team, right, it should equate to around 30 to 40% of the revenue. So for example, you are doing $10,000 a month in revenue, you have basically almost think of it like a salary cap. You have a $3,000 to $4,000 salary cap for all positions, right? And again, that's not a good example, from that, but that's how it is. So that's kind of like almost like what you have to play with as a whole. And now what you have to do is you have to decide with, and again, multiple factors, right? What is the, going rate for a position, of that size, and what's the range? I mean, what's the bottom and the top? Because it's not only one number. It's not like 60 grand is it. It's usually a range between 40,000 to 60,000. Like, so coming up with the bottom number and the top number. But the big thing I told him was create the comp structure for the position, not the person. That's a really, really important piece. And it's not just that, it's also create the job description for the position, not the person. So comp structures, job descriptions made for the position, not the person. You create it first, then you put the person in the box, then you put the person in the role. When you do it backwards, you end up having all these random things, and then it's very, very hard to be consistent. So his best bet is, okay, my business is doing this revenue level. I have this total salary cap to play with. This is the most important position we've got, so it's going to be a higher base salary. And then there's a possible bonus structure that could be created. Again, I'm not going to get into this on that podcast. It's a whole separate podcast in general. But that was my big piece of advice to him, was to create that comp structure based on the company and what the company can afford to pay and what the company, is structured around. And that's what I would do with that one. So it was a really great question. And the guy that he was asking about seemed like a great kid and seemed like he was worth every penny. But you just got to be careful with just randomly throwing money at people and then almost forgetting, what you did and what you promised and all things like that. So have it on paper. What's the role? What's the job description for the role? What's the comp structure for that role? And then roll from there. A lot of roles in there. So that is my time with Manny. Great guy, a new member of the SPF Mastermind. Very excited. He came to our event as a guest and then ended up signing up at the event, which I thought was super cool. And he gave me a nice compliment. He said, I've been in other groups before because, Manny's older, so he's been around, for a while. And he's like, I've been in other groups before. And he's like, the community that you've built and how people help each other is why I joined. And so it's a really cool thing for him to see that. And it is a good group. I'm really, of all the things that I've built, the SPF Mastermind is one of the things I'm most proud of in my entire life. It's super, super awesome group of people. So very excited about that. And our next meeting is coming up in November. So if you want to join us, I don't know why this idiot's tailgating me. I'm in the slow lane. I'm recording a podcast, bro. Don't be tailgating me. 1213W. A-hole. I'm in the slow lane, and this guy's totally tailgating me. Hold on. 13W. Okay. I'm exiting at 495. Okay. So I am on my way to my man, TJ Lopez. TJ is such a great guy. I've known TJ for such a long time, and I've been working with TJ. TJ's one of my first mastermind members. He's an original founding member of my CEO mastermind, and actually is the only one in the group that has never missed a meeting. So we started the meetings in 2019. We meet 4 times a year. Sometimes the meetings are in California. Sometimes the meetings are in Colorado. Sometimes the meetings are in Michigan. Sometimes the meetings are in New Jersey. Never once has TJ Lopez missed a meeting. 4 times a year since 2019. Incredible. And he's just a great human being. And he's our SPF Gym Owner of the Year award. So it's very fitting that I'm ending the day with him. Super excited to see his gym and his business. He has made some monster gains. I'll talk about him when I record his podcast, after I talk to him. But so I'll talk about it more. But he's done super well in the last several years, and just a great human being. So I'm going to TJ, going to AMP right now on the way, and then going to have some steak dinner with my man TJ and AB. Eat good. And then I have my consulting day tomorrow with Anthony Bevilacqua. So fun day. I'll see if I have it in me to record one more podcast today, but if you're listening to the Long Island Gym series, all of these have been recorded on the same day in the car. So I apologize. Sometimes it's hard to do my best work in, dodging traffic and, getting people beeping at me and tailgating me and all of that. So whatever shortcomings that came out of this podcast, please accept my apology in advance, but doing the best I can with the situation, trying to give you everything as fresh as I possibly can. So hopefully this was helpful. I'll see you on the next edition of Long Island Gyms. Peace.